Amateur baseball has been played all summer, all across Minnesota. We're now down to the final 70 teams, and it's that time of year to crown the champions. Welcome to the Minnesota Amateur Baseball Tournament Preview Show. We'll reveal the brackets in classes C and B. Our panel of town ball experts will break it down and give us an inside look at the teams and top players. It's a great Minnesota tradition, and we'll set the stage tonight. Here's our host, Ryan Phelps.
We are just days away from the 2022 State Amateur Baseball Tournament, this year hosted in Faribault, Miesville, and Dundas. I'm Ryan Phelps here with you with a first of its kind, a live stream where we will reveal all of the brackets for this year's Class B and C State Tournament. And we'll also bring on a panel of experts to help you break down this great Minnesota tradition. Tonight's show is being viewed on Minnesota Baseball Association's YouTube channel. Please hit subscribe, and you can view all of our content all season long on the MBA YouTube channel. For the last 2 years, PrepSpotlight.tv has streamed all of the games from the Class B and C State Tournament. We're undergoing a facelift. More on that in just a little bit. Before we get to the 2022 field, however, let's take you back a year. Waconia, Chaska, and Hamburg. They hosted last year's event, and it was 3 great weekends of baseball. Well, let's start with the Class C championship in Waconia on Labor Day. It was an extra inning pitching and defensive duel between Sobieski and Watertown. Randall Cub draftee Caleb Strock got Sobieski out of a jam in the 9th with a big strikeout, 110 on the day. Scoreless into the 11th, the Skis break the ice. Riley Ekman singles past the drawn-in infield, the first of 3 runs by Sobieski. And then, lefty Strock went all 11 innings, and he ends the game by inducing a ground ball to short. Sobieski wins the state title, and they also won it back in 2014. Well, they will not defend their crown this year as they've been bumped to Class B. Speaking of Class B, the final was in Chaska, and the next-door neighbor, Chanhassen, added to their dynasty with championship number 4 in a row. Down by a run against Miesville, Jack Hoffman flipped the script, a 3-run home run into the trees beyond the left center field fence. That put the Redbirds in the catbird seat, and they would not give it up. Leading 9-2, one final pitch is popped up. Chanhassen has won the B championship going back to 2018. Can they strive for 5 in 2022? Who are they playing and what lies ahead is one of the topics of this show. Well, here we are tonight in Howard Lake, home of the Orphans. This is the NBA headquarters for putting the brackets together and appropriately, where they're going to be revealed to the town ball world. We're here now with the president, Mark Forsman from the Minnesota Baseball Association, and the electricity, the excitement in this building tonight. It's like Christmas Eve for you guys.
Yeah, it's a big event, especially when it's our first outing. I'm really surprised you told our secret location, though. But we'll have to move on to a different place next year.
Well, it's Howard Lake-ish. It's somewhere around here. So the process of putting these brackets together, tell us a little bit about that. What went on behind closed doors here today?
So our board gets together. A few of us are working throughout the whole week trying to get the matchups. And, so we go through each region. And I have a couple guys that do Class B, and I have 2 or 3 guys that do Class C. And what we want to try to do is not match up the same teams as what we did in the past 5 years. And then we also use the ratings that we have throughout the year, and each bracket we try to get them most competitive. So yeah, it's kind of a process, and we have war rooms, and we discuss different times and matchups. And so, it just lays out there, and it's a process, but it's fun.
I didn't hear any yelling. Some loud voices, but no yelling in there.
Right.
How do you guys make the final decision?
Well, there's a few of us that put in a little more time than others, so we have a little more clout. So our voice is always heard more often.
Very good. The footprint of the NBA, I was chatting with some of our panelists that are coming up here in a little bit to break down these brackets. the reach is so big. It's so much bigger in Minnesota than other states. Tell us a little bit about the NBA and why town ball is such a big deal here in Minnesota.
Town ball is our biggest town or amateur baseball association in the United States, and it's because of dedicated people that are involved in each program in each community, and our personalities. I mean, they drive what's going on in our town ball. I mean, they get excited for it. They're broadcasting stuff. You guys are covering our games. We got Fox 9 also doing some stuff at parks. It's just building and growing like it's unbelievable. And where I came from first on the board in the year 2000, from where we are right now, it's the world changing.
Well, technology has changed a lot. You guys have a YouTube channel. Please subscribe when you get a chance. You're utilizing technology that wasn't around or was in its infancy back in 2000 when you came on board. And now we're able to stream all of these games we've done them through Prep Spotlight. Now we'll have a new name that we're going to reveal here in a little bit as well. So you're utilizing that technology to really reach the masses out there.
Well, that's part of it too, but you have to have personnel that understand technology too. And I'm not one of them. We've got a couple of new board members that are very up to speed on where we need to be. We've mainstreamed a lot of our stuff as an MBA. It's making our work a lot easier, and technically, as far as all this stuff, we can do this because we have people that are very educated in this field, so it's very helpful.
We've got a great couple weeks coming up, Faribault, Dundas, and Meesville, and looking forward to some really good baseball.
Yeah, Faribault hasn't hosted the tournament since 1978. Dundas, I was down there in 2003, and Meesville in 06. So beautiful parks, beautiful area. We haven't been southeastern Minnesota in a few years, and I'm hoping everybody gets out there and supports their teams, and they're really nice ballparks.
Very good. Mark Forsman, thanks a lot.
Hey, Ryan, nice to see your face finally.
Thanks for dinner.
Yeah, you bet.
So again, please subscribe to the NBA YouTube channel. Just click that subscribe button. And we've got some brackets to reveal. That's going to be fun. It'll be coming up for you next. But first, a message from the all-new Neighborhood Sports Network.
PrepSpotlight.tv made history in 2020 by live streaming every game of the Town Ball State Tournament. History is happening again. PrepSpotlight.tv has been great, but it's becoming greater. Introducing NSPN.tv. The Neighborhood Sports Network launches this week with end-to-end coverage of a fantastic Minnesota sports tradition, Town Ball. See every game for a new fan-friendly monthly fee. Join for Town Ball State Tournament games, then stay for the high school and college seasons. NSPN.tv will provide subscribers with an abundant supply of local sports content, featuring live events called by local play-by-play professionals, comprehensive highlights, feature stories, weekly shows, documentaries, and video podcasts. Welcome to the neighborhood. NSPN.tv.
All season long, you've gathered with friends, neighbors, and family at ball yards all across Minnesota.
Still going, gone! A home run!
Diamonds that define hundreds of communities. Town Ball binds together our passion for baseball and our hometowns. And on September 10th, the cornerstone of Minnesota baseball, Target Field, will host a party for all those who play, watch, and support Town Ball. The Twins host the Guardians at 6:10 p.m. Prior to the game, the champions will be honored in a ceremony at Town Ball Tavern, and all Town Ballers will be invited down to the field for a special pregame ceremony. Wear your team colors and enjoy a special night at Target Field.
Field Scallon back, has it measured. That's it! Air Freight Unlimited, your Class A state champions.
For tickets to the Minnesota Twins Tip of the Cap to Town Ball on September 10th, visit twinsbaseball.com/townball.
PrepSpotlight.tv made history in 2020 by live streaming every game of the Town Ball State Tournament. History is happening again. PrepSpotlight.tv has been great, but it's becoming greater. Introducing NSPN.tv. The Neighborhood Sports Network launches this week with end-to-end coverage of a fantastic Minnesota sports tradition, Town Ball. See every game for a new fan-friendly monthly fee. Join for Town Ball state tournament games, then stay for the high school and college seasons. NSPN.tv will provide subscribers with an abundant supply of local sports content, featuring live events called by local play-by-play professionals, comprehensive highlights, feature stories, weekly shows, documentaries, and video podcasts. Welcome to the neighborhood. NSPN.tv.
You're live.
Another great collection of ballparks for the 2022 State Amateur Tournament. Memorial Park in Dundas is always at the top of the most experts' lists. Dundas has hosted the state tournament along with Northfield in 2003. Nearly 20 years later, the park will be home to this great event again. Dundas will host the potential B Championship on Sunday, September 4th. The Dukes have won the B tournament 5 times, last in 2015, and they are back in the field this year, thanks to Fox 9 for our footage and some of the aerial shots that you'll see of these great parks. You're watching this on NBA's YouTube channel. Please hit that subscribe button, and you'll see content all season long, some great highlights, and all tournament long as well. And speaking of the tournaments, it's finally time to reveal the brackets. We've got our panelists on here. Jamie Stender from KGLB out of Glencoe is with us, covering sports in the Piers area with his popular website, You Are There Sports. Rick Graman, thank you for joining us. And my buddy Aaron Worm here from KATE Radio in Albert Lee. You also do a lot of town ball coverage on K-Check. And since I'm looking at you, I'll start with you. This tournament's so much fun. Tell me just a little bit about what you like about this, the town ball tournament.
You know, what's always cool about it, you know, compared to anything else that's past the high school sport, is the fact that it could be kids that are 16 years old up to guys that are in their 50s. And what's great about town ball compared to any other level of baseball past high schools, you know these guys. I mean, these guys come out for the love of baseball. You're going to see them on the baseball field, and they're running their business on Monday. You know, they have late nights on a Wednesday to get back from the ballpark at 11:30, and they're getting up next morning to work. And I just think it's great. And the kids in the area get to know these guys. They look up to these guys because, again, it's their neighbors, families, could be a teacher in their school district. And that's what I love about town ball, is because, again, no one's getting paid for this. No one's making any money. They do it for the love of the game. And it's competitive. It's fierce. There's a passion that these guys put out there, and it doesn't compare to anything else.
We've seen the brackets. We'll reveal them soon. I know a lot of teams you're familiar with made the tournament this year. Jeremy, up in the Glencoe area, tell us a little bit about town ball in your neighborhood.
We'd like to call ourselves the hotbed of town ball, and I think that we did a good job proving that a little bit last year when Waconia, Chaska, and Hamburg just did an unbelievable job hitting it out of the park and hosting a great tournament. We've had it in Norwood, Green Isle, and Hamburg back in 2017, and we've got the Brownton Bruins coming up here again in a couple of years. They're going to be one of the co-hosts. So very excited. We've got 4 great teams again out of Region 7. I think it's going to be great. And just to Aaron's point, you know, when you're talking about town ball, how many times does ESPN rank the top 100 things you have to see in sports? And in the top 50 is town ball in Minnesota. Right. So I think, and that's why we're all here, and that's what we're here to support.
Rick?
Well, I basically cover Region 8, which is central Minnesota, biggest region in the state, consists of 20 teams. We've been very successful, 5 state champions and 3 runners-up in the last 20 years. I mean, that's a pretty good ratio of, you know, at least 8 finalists in that time. We have Sobieski won it all last year. They are now a Class B team and qualified for this Class B state tournament. So our area will basically send 5 teams to the state tournament. So, but to echo something Aaron said, what I like about town ball is not only the players, but you take a look at a ballpark and look at the grandpas sitting in the lawn chairs, and they're going through their mind is back in '35 or whatever. Yeah, all those older generations watching and coming out to watch grandsons or just remembering their glory days, and the communities that pulled together to pull this whole thing off.
You mentioned Sobieski. Let's take a look at the Class B brackets. They will be in our first set here. Let's start at the top. We've got the Meesville Mudhens taking on the Prior Lake Jays. This is Class B State Tournament Baseball, August 19th in Meesville. That's followed up by Cold Spring Springers and the Anoka Bucks as we make our way down the bracket. The winners will move on then the following week. Egan Bandits taking on the Dundas Dukes. That's Sunday, August 21st in Dundas. And finally, the Blaine Fusion against the Sobieski Skis, Meesville, August 20th, 1:30 p.m. first pitch. Let's go right to Sobieski. And Rick, tell us a little bit about the Skis and what you're expecting in that first round.
Well, Sobieski, they're the 4 seed out of Section 2. They defeated Brainerd to qualify their first Class B state tournament. It's their second trip through Class B. They went to B, came back down to C, now they're back. But last year's state championship team lost some big members of that lineup. You know, the Bo Hanowski, the Josh Wenzel, Ben Hanowski, Tyler Gendro didn't pitch in the state tournament, but a mainstay of that Sobieski team from former MVP in 14. But it's a little different look, younger mix, but still a lot of the veterans are still there. The Scott Litchies, the Colin Ekmans, the Joey Hanowskis, the Riley Hirsches, the Dusty Parkers, those type of guys, and with a good young mix of young players.
So. They play some pretty good hockey, too.
They do play some good hockey. Matter of fact, Joey Hanowski is the new boys, second-year boys hockey coach now.
Very good.
Yep.
Aaron, what jumps out at you?
You know, I mean, I like the first round matchup with Meesville and Prior Lake because, again, Prior Lake is, one of those teams that has 2 teams in their town. You know, we cover a lot with the Prior Lake Mudcats, the C team, but the Jays are a real fun team. They don't get to the state often enough because they play in a really good, I guess you call it district or region, to get out of B. Tex Chapman, who is kind of the head guy with the Prior Lake Jays, his beard might be down to here by the time we get to the state tournament, maybe down to his stomach. I'm not sure. Tex, if you're watching, good luck to your team. I like that matchup because Prior Lake, to me, the Jays, probably underdog. You know, anytime it comes to the tournament, they're an underdog. Getting one of the big boys right off the bat and a team that's hosting the state tournament. That should be a fun game, especially on Friday night to kick off Class B.
Very good. Jeremy?
Well, I mean, my first look at it, and I think about the potential. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'll give my picks later, but imagine Meesville Dundas in the state semifinals. That would generate a little bit of interest. So that was kind of what stood out when I looked at it. You know, Blaine Fusion, nobody's really talking about them. They're a team that has missed the state tournament the last couple of years that they'll probably tell you they shouldn't have. So I think that that's an exciting matchup with Sobieski in that first round. And, to Aaron's point about the Prior Lake Jays, there's 9 teams in Section 3. And if Section 3B, they had to play in an 8-9 play-in game just to play themselves into the section tournament as the 8 seed. So it's been kind of impressive, the run that they've gotten to do. And then, you've gotten the old reliables, Cold Spring Springers. Nobody's, you're not going to bat your eye and roll an eye at them. They're always a great baseball team. So I just kind of look at it. But the first thing that stood out for me when I look at this top quadrant is the potential is there for a Meesville Dundas semifinal matchup. And what better thing than 2 teams that are co-hosting the state tournament, the potential there. It's good on paper, right?
That would be fun. Talk a little bit about the home field advantage for these teams that do host the state tournaments.
Maybe it's just me. I don't always think it's a real big home field advantage because the problem is that before you put your cleats on, you're working on the field.
Distractions.
Or you're doing there's much more distractions than there are for the home field advantage. I think sometimes it's almost the tiring work that you're doing on the field, and you get to play ball, and you're maybe just your head's not into it because you're thinking of something else that maybe should have been done. So now a lot of these communities, they've got great volunteers, they've got great helpers, and a lot of times you've got other teams that maybe are out, they're stepping up and they're helping to try and do those different things. But really when it comes to the state tournament, I think sometimes it's almost better the further you can get away from home. Almost the better, because then it's just your focus on that game. I don't know what you think, Rick.
I think that's absolutely correct. You're drawn in so many areas. It's almost an escape just to step between the lines.
Yeah.
And
And it's fun to get out on the road with the team, you know.
Well, one thing about when they have, and Jeremy and Rick mentioned the farther away is I like when they have like fan buses and the whole town comes, and the team is there because everyone's got the same T-shirt on. They got the state tournament T-shirts. I remember, was it Cologne had made their first time in a long time, in the orange wave that was in the ballpark. I mean, you see these 200 plus people that are coming off buses from far away. To me, that's the best part because they sat on the bus for a couple hours and maybe they've supported their local tavern before they jumped on the bus and got to the ballpark. And I think that's awesome. Sometimes the farther away makes the better story at the state tournament.
Yep, especially first timers or maybe a team that hasn't been there in quite a time. The excitement level around those teams just seem to be bigger than the teams that, here we go again to the state tournament.
Yep.
So
And
to catch the excitement ride of some of these new teams.
Right, absolutely. And we get that in the C bracket. Let's take a look at the C teams now. Starting with our first bracket, you've got Loretto Larks versus Waterville Indians. That's going to be on August 19th down in Faribault. The winner moves on to face Bird Island, who has a first round bye. Down the line, we've got the Watkins Clippers and the Piers Lakers. Winner advances to face the Red Wing Aces. More in Class C. Milroy Irish versus the Webster Sox. That one's Saturday, August 20th in Dundas. The winners advance to take on the Monticello Polecats. And then finally, in the top part of the bracket, Class C, New York Mills Millers and the Cold Spring Rockies, with the winner moving on to take on the Watertown Red Devils. As we look ahead now, let's take a look at our panelists here.
Yeah.
We'll break down that one first, and we'll reveal the second part. Rick, tell us a little bit about that first set of brackets.
Well, I'm particularly keen on that second matchup. You mentioned the Watkins Clippers, Piers Lakers. I think two very evenly matched teams from, like Jeremy said, hotbeds, down in that Stearns County area and the Morrison County area. Piers is loaded with a lot of experienced players back. They've been to the Labor Day weekend before, so they've got some younger players in the mix. I like Loretto's story. They're always a good one with, pretty well versed on the Koskis, and Corey Koski and his boys. So they're always a good draw. And I know Aaron's going to talk about Webster. Aaron nailed Webster earlier this year in the Milroy Irish. When 2 years ago when we were down in Milroy, I snuck over and saw Irish Yard because it was at Yankees, the Yankees host. Boy, what a gem that is!
Yeah.
To see the Irish make it will be interesting. And then I don't know a lot about the New York Mills Millers, but they're there. So Bluffton and them. So
yeah.
I picture right now, like Webster, they're sitting at a bar somewhere and they all cheer like on the NCAA tournament, right?
They do.
They're sitting at the Ranchero.
Yeah.
They're at the Ranchero, I bet you.
I mean, it's a great story, and I always love hearing those stories. And Aaron and I talked about it maybe a little bit earlier in the week. The self-deprecating humor that they had just 5 or 6 years ago when they were on that 50-game losing streak and things, but they had fun with it.
Correct. Yep.
And to see that come together, I think that Webster is one of the top stories in the state. When I look at this little, quadrant, however we're going to do it, I'm a Region 7 guy, but I really like this draw for the Watertown Red Devils. That's not to discredit anyone else. They've just been so good and so outstanding all season. It was on full display again at the Region 7 tournament. And really the most intriguing first round matchup for me here is Loretto and Waterville. I mean, I just think that's got the makings to be really, really fun. And then setting up a matchup with Bird Island, Rick and I were talking about it a little bit back in the green room, and Mike Nagel you couldn't see him pop out of that room
his
fast enough. What are you guys talking about, Bird Island? So I think that those are kind of the things that really pop out to me in this top part of the bracket.
Sure.
Well, I guess I'm talking about Webster. So we're talking about the Webster Sox, and what's cool about this story with Webster is that it's their first time ever getting to a region. Which you think about 8 teams always get to a region. They've never been to a region. They used to, Jeremy mentioned them making fun of themselves. TWI was a hashtag they used for years. Typical Webster inning, because they made errors. They made lots of errors. They got a couple of guys in Peter Twitey and Jordan Huey that are leading the way, a couple of youngsters. I like Webster to win a couple of games because they're led by pitching. Todd Klein, their manager, took over 3 years ago for a Mike Sandman, who was the driving force for Webster baseball forever. Mike's jersey's retired. at the Coliseum, is what they refer to as their ballpark in Webster. So I'm excited for Webster. I said earlier in the year I thought they were going to make the state tournament because they're led by those two young pitchers, and they're going to make some noise. I see them getting to Labor Day and possible a matchup with Watertown Labor Day.
Aaron, who did they have to go through to get to this first state?
So to get there,
who did they replace?
Who did they replace? Well, Faribault, the host team.
Okay.
They had to beat them in the region game to get to state, which, that was a tough game because you're either going to have, again, the host team, Faribault, which you're kind of pulling for them because they put in all the work to get the ballpark, but you're rooting for the Webster Sox as well because, again, this is a Cinderella story. If you love town ball, you don't know much about Webster, learn more because this is a big-time story.
Okay, more brackets. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Set 2 for Class C. We're going to start up top with the Hinckley Knights taking on the Richmond Royals. That one's August 21st in Meesville. Winner moves on to face the Dumont Saints. That one's in Faribault on the 28th. Up next, you've got the Stark Longhorns taking on the Maple Lake Lakers in Dundas on the 20th. The winner advances to face the Bemidji Blue Ox. On the other side, you've got the Cannon Falls Bears and the Buckman Billy Goats. That one's on the 20th in Faribault. The winner advances to take on Laverne. And finally, Waconia and Union Hill with the winner advancing to face Fergus Falls. So another set of intriguing matchups. We'll start over here this time, Aaron.
And we were talking about this when we first saw the brackets about, games that were the toughest first round matchups. Maybe neither team got the best draw. I look at this one and I look at the Union Hill Waconia matchup because, Waconia is a team, and Jeremy's going to, touch on this as well, that has the capability to win the whole thing. Union Hill is a team that in recent memories had some good runs. Conrad Mosberg is their number one. He's a good ace. They have lots of Beckers on that team, and Coach John Mosberg's done a great job. So I look at that's the first thing that pops out. I think Union Hill and Waconia both got a bad draw because they're facing each other in the first round. I'm a nickname guy, so anytime the Buckman Billy Goats are in a bracket, I love to see that. And I like the teams that have to come from far distances. And Bemidji has always been a good team at the state tournament. I have them getting to the final 8 in my bracket in this little section.
Very good.
Yeah, I think Bemidji's the team that, for some reason, and I don't know if it's just because they're so far up north, but, they're always in the state tournament, but somehow they always seem to be in Labor Day weekend and into that final 8. I think we saw them beat Cologne when Cologne kind of had that magical run a few years ago. But yeah, I like the Cannon Falls Buckman matchup. I think that one's going to be really, really fun the first weekend. The other thing, Region 2, do they have a little chip on their shoulder? They lost a state berth. They went from 3 to 2 this year, and part of it is they hadn't had a lot of success lately. So, Stark, Rick we were talking, young athletic team. They get to run into Hunter Malachek though from Maple Lake Lakers. So that's no easy task when you're talking about your first game. And the team that I want to keep an eye on, and I know Kirby's going to love this, but I like the Richmond Royals. Getting into Labor Day weekend, when I kind of look at this, their matchup against Hinckley, Dumont was everybody's Cinderella last year. They're watching Major League the first weekend when they're going out, and then what was the movie they watched the next weekend? I can't even recall, but kind of took, kind of wore that Cinderella slipper. But so that's just kind of a breakdown. Yeah, again, Region 7. I like Waconia in that matchup with Union Hill. I like Waconia, I look at potential matchups a lot of times, and when I see, Saturday of Labor Day weekend and I see a potential Laverne-Waconia matchup, that's one that really kind of piques my interest too.
Yeah, Rick?
Well, we're all broadcasters up here, so over the years we see a lot of teams and come and go, some new or one-hit wonders type, but we can't see them all. But every once in a while you see a team that catches your eye, and as Jeremy mentioned, saw Stark last year down in Chaska. And they were really impressive to me. Very athletic. They run. They hit the ball well. Pitch the ball. So Maple Lake, don't sleep on Stark. Maple Lake's a pretty regular at the state tournament, and Stark maybe not quite as often. But I'll be interested to watch how Stark handles themselves against a really good Maple Lake team. They are really, really good. Okay. And my Buckman Billy Goats, they'll open up with Cannon Falls, and boy, that's a team that is. They're regular, and Buckman has been a few years since they've been there, but
I'm still mad
Yep.
at them for that 17-inning game against Young America.
Against Young America.
So I might just pick against them just for that reason.
Well, let me tell you, Towges is still pitching.
Okay, we know half the teams. Time to bring in our other aficionados and introduce you to the other half of the teams making it to this year's 2022 State Town Ball Tournament. You can see all of the games. We're going to be streaming on NSPN.TV.
PrepSpotlight.tv made history in 2020 by live streaming every game of the Town Ball State Tournament. History is happening again. PrepSpotlight.tv has been great, but it's becoming greater. Introducing NSPN.TV. The Neighborhood Sports Network launches this week with end-to-end coverage of a fantastic Minnesota sports tradition, Town Ball. See every game for a new fan-friendly monthly fee. Join for Town Ball State Tournament games, then stay for the high school and college seasons. NSPN.TV will provide subscribers with an abundant supply of local sports content, featuring live events called by local play-by-play professionals, comprehensive highlights, featured stories, weekly shows, documentaries, and video podcasts. Welcome to the neighborhood, NSPN.TV.
All season long, you've gathered with friends, neighbors, and family at ball yards all across Minnesota.
Still going, gone! A home run!
Diamonds that define hundreds of communities. Town Ball binds together our passion for baseball and our hometowns. And on September 10th, the cornerstone of Minnesota baseball, Target Field, will host a party for all those who play, watch, and support Town Ball. The Twins host the Guardians at 6:10 p.m. Prior to the game, the champions will be honored in a ceremony at Town Ball Tavern, and all Town Ballers will be invited down to the field for a special pregame ceremony. Wear your team colors and enjoy a special night at Target Field.
Field Scallon back, has it measured. That's it! Air Freight Unlimited, your Class A state champions.
For tickets to the Minnesota Twins Tip of the Cap to Town Ball on September 10th, visit twinsbaseball.com/townball. The home of the Meesville Mudhens, Jack Ruhr Field, will be hosting games in both classes. This has become a destination ballpark just south of Hastings, west of Red Wing. The iconic, idyllic field hosted a Division I college game this spring between St. Thomas and Nebraska Omaha. Thanks again to Fox 9 for the aerial footage of beautiful Meesville, home of the Mudhens. I was just down there a couple weeks ago checking out the field, and they've got it looking really nice, so looking forward to that. Hey, you're watching this on the NBA YouTube channel. Please, lower right of your screen, be down here I guess, click that subscribe button for us, and you can watch highlights all tournament long this year, and you're doing the NBA a big favor. So our new panelists, welcome aboard guys. KASM Radio in Albany, Kirby Hemish, and holding down the sports department for the Herald Journal newspapers in the middle of Minnesota is Kip Kovar. A lot of energy from the first panel. I know you guys will continue that, but I want to go back to the first thing we talked about with those boys, just the passion for this tournament. What do you like, Kip, about this state town ball tournament?
Yeah, that's an interesting. So I didn't grow up town ball. I thought it was beer league baseball. Didn't really care for it. Moved to Sleepy Eye a year after I graduated college and just fell in love with it. How much the town loves it. Those guys down there were just so fun to be around. And got to move back here and just fell in love with it and got to cover the Crow and the North Star and just can't get enough of it now.
Yeah, it's great. Kirby?
Just the rehashing of the game. The game plays, and then the 12-packs come out, and it's just, can you believe that in the third? Why did he throw to that base in the sixth? And they talk about it all week, and they come back on Sunday. Can't beat it.
How many teams do you guys cover in your area?
So I cover the entire Crow River Valley League, which is Region 7, and then I also do a good chunk of Region 12, which is the North Star League, so Delano, DC, Loretto, and Cokato.
Yeah, keep you busy.
Yes, definitely.
Stearns County League for me, half of the Central Valley League year by year, and then Cold Spring Springers. So 15.
Yeah. Were you any surprises when those brackets were revealed today?
You know, just how they build the bracket is kind of cool. Getting the behind the scenes look at it, how they kind of piece it together, and I always kind of just thought they threw names on the wall, but it turns out that they actually do have a clue what they're doing in the room over there. But
there's a process.
Yeah, it was cool.
Very good. Hey, let's take a look at the second half of the Class B bracket. We're going to go with Moorhead Brewers taking on the Newmarket Muskies. That one's in Dundas on the 21st. Below that, the Champlin Park Low Gators. They were talking about mascots and team names earlier. I like that one, the Low Gators in Champlin Park, taking on the Chaska Cubs. That one in Dundas on the 21st. The Rochester Royals versus the Hamel Hawks in Meesville on the 20th. And the Chanhassen Redbirds versus the Coon Rapids Redbirds. That one's in Meesville on the 20th as well. What jumps out at you with that one, Kip?
Well, I think you got to start with Chanhassen, 4-time defending champs, looking for a 5th, and then you got Chaska in there as well with a tough Champlin team. They're always kind of that perennial state tournament team. Chaska kind of dominated the regular season, stumbled a little bit in their section, but put it together and they're right back there. So it's a lot of fun to see Class B teams get around and play some ball too.
Kirby?
Well, first $20 on the Redbirds in the last one, but Moorhead to me jumps out. They just seem to win games. You know, the experience, they go deep into the tournament a lot, maybe get overlooked and stuff because they don't win 4 in a row or something like that. But they're tough, but I'd say it's Chanhassen's to lose until someone dethrones.
We're talking about traveling and how far Bemidji comes. Moorhead's got a pretty good poke, too, to get down there.
This past week, I think they played, Cold Spring had to go up there on Saturday for a game, and then now they're going, what would you say, 4+ to get to the state tournament. So, yeah, maybe they got to steal the Dumont move and pop Field of Dreams in or something and watch something cool on the way down.
Very good. All right. You ready for Class C?
Yeah. Always.
Okay, let's do it. Part 1 of this would be, I guess, Part 3. Part 1 for you guys. Part 3 for the Class C bracket. We've got the Gaylord Islanders taking on the Brownton Bruins. That one's in Dundas on the 19th. Up next, for the winner, will be the Isanti Redbirds. More Redbirds there, Kirby, for you. And the other side of the bracket, you've got the Clinton Cards versus the Wilmer Rails. That one's in Meesville on the 21st. The winner gets the Delano Athletics down in Dundas. Up next, the Avon Lakers versus the Fairmont Martins. That one's going to be in Dundas on the 20th. The winner, they get the St. Martin Martins down in Faribault. And then finally, the Burbank Bombers versus the Sartell Muskies in Faribault on the 20th. And the winner gets the tough St. Patrick Irish. What do you think, guys?
Well, when we walked into the building today, they had the quad set up, and we all looked at that bracket with those Isanti, Delano, St. Martin, and St. Patrick. And whoever comes out of that, if they can get one game, is going to be pretty impressive.
Yeah.
We said it right away. Kip just talked about it, the good Stearns County boy in me praying for an Avon-St. Martin matchup. No offense, Fairmont, don't tweet at me or anything, but Avon-St. Martin in my backyard, Albany area, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot is said about St. Patrick and the team that they have. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's kind of around the horn that this might be their last year in Class C, so they're going to be all on it. Made it to the quarterfinals last year and the championship in 2020, so really another impressive year. I think they only gave up 1 run in their region, so a really good team and always seem to be the one that kind of people are talking about.
And they got lights on the park now.
They do.
So they can play at night.
Kip, is Delano fired up?
They're ready. They got upset by Loretto, who you guys saw in the top half of the bracket, but as soon as people saw that, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if Delano rattles off wins and goes and gets that bye. And if there's one knock on Delano, it might be that their pitching staff isn't that deep, but they got an ace by drafting Litchfield's Avery Leastman, so expect to see him on the bump. And 1 through 9, that lineup can just hit the ball, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully they can get that losing streak off their back.
All right, let's take a look at the final bracket then. The Raymond Rockets versus the Wanamingo Jacks. That one's in Faribault on the 21st. The Montgomery Mallards versus El Rosa. That one's in Faribault on the 20th. The Ada Athletics versus the Plato Blue Jays. That one's on the 21st in Faribault. And Kimball versus Hutchinson in Meesville on the 21st. The first round byes then go to the Nisswa Lightning, the New Ulm Brewers, the Jordan Brewers, and the Bluffton Braves. Kirby.
I mean, Kimball Hutch, opening round. You kidding me? Like that's a Labor Day Sunday matchup that we're getting Sunday of the first weekend. You're talking just old school, tough ball teams that are just someone's not gonna be playing the second weekend of the tournament. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I think that's the first matchup, the first round. All of 5 of us just were like, hey, can you believe that game? That could be a quarterfinal, semifinal game. And then Plato's back out of Crow River League that I follow. They got Adam Prayne back, and then match up with Jordan in the second round would be a great matchup as well.
And the neat thing about this town ball tournament is when you look at the teams that qualify, and just from where I live, just as an example, and you guys probably say this about where you are too, and that's just the vastness of this tournament. Webster, Newmarket, St. Patrick, Union Hill, Montgomery.
Yeah.
We're all within, they got to be 20 minutes of each other. And all making the state tournament this year. I'm sure you guys have that in your neighborhood as well.
That's what makes it special. I mean, in Stearns County League, you get Avon, St. Martin, Cold Spring, Richmond, Watkins, all right there. Kimball not that far away. You guys got the same little breadbasket area as well. So.
Yeah, especially the CRVL South, just Green Isle, Hamburg, Young America, Glencoe, Broughton, any town on 212, they're all pulling from the same area. So,
yeah.
And they're all good players and all good teams.
Very good. We've got plenty more to get to on the show. Thanks for joining us for this segment. We'll get to you again. Reminder, all these games for the upcoming state tournament can be streamed on nspn.tv. No longer Prep Spotlight. We're now nspn.tv.
PrepSpotlight.tv made history in 2020 by live streaming every game of the Town Ball State Tournament. History is happening again. PrepSpotlight.tv has been great, but it's becoming greater. Introducing NSPN.tv. The Neighborhood Sports Network launches this week with end-to-end coverage of a fantastic Minnesota sports tradition, Town Ball. See every game for a new fan-friendly monthly fee. Join for Town Ball State Tournament games, then stay for the high school and college seasons. NSPN.tv will provide subscribers with an abundant supply of local sports content, featuring live events called by local play-by-play professionals, comprehensive highlights, feature stories, weekly shows, documentaries, and video podcasts. Welcome to the neighborhood. NSPN.tv.
All season long, you've gathered with friends, neighbors, and family at ball yards all across Minnesota.
Still going, gone! A home run!
Diamonds that define hundreds of communities. Town Ball binds together our passion for baseball and our hometowns. And on September 10th, the cornerstone of Minnesota baseball, Target Field, will host a party for all those who play, watch, and support Town Ball. The Twins host the Guardians at 6:10 p.m. Prior to the game, the champions will be honored in a ceremony at Town Ball Tavern, and all Town Ballers will be invited down to the field for a special pregame ceremony. Wear your team colors and enjoy a special night at Target Field.
Field Scallon back, has it measured. That's it! Air Freight Unlimited, your Class A state champions.
For tickets to the Minnesota Twins Tip of the Cap to Town Ball on September 10th, visit twinsbaseball.com/townball. The Minnesota Baseball Association brings the state tournament to Faribault for the first time since 1978. Bell Field will host the first full weekend of the Class C tournament action, and it will be the last field used on Labor Day for the Class C championship and possibly the deciding game in Class B. Thanks again to Fox 9 for the great footage of our host sites, Faribault. We already saw Dundas and Meesville, three great parks. My first town ball game I ever called for KYMN radio was during the state tournament in 2003 for the Dundas Dukes. And what a neat park right in the middle of town. Kirby Hemish and Kip Kobar, our panelists for this segment, joining us again. Thanks, guys.
You bet.
Absolutely.
Good meal tonight?
really
Couldn't
good.
beat it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Do I have it on my face?
You put food in front of media guys, and they show up.
Absolutely.
No questions asked. My question for you guys: talk about the Faribault, Dundas, and Meesville, and just what great parks they are. We'll start with you, Kirby. Just neighborhood ballparks in your area. What stands out?
Cold Spring, for sure. Item 1 with a bullet. But how far the parks have come in the last 20 years, because they used to, not be that good. Now everybody's kind of catching up. Lights are going up everywhere. Electronic scoreboards are everywhere. No dirt infields. But Cold Spring, St. Cloud, I've always liked Watkins, too.
Yeah. Very good, Kip.
Yeah, I'm spoiled beyond belief with the Crow and North Star. I mean, Delano is arguably one of the best parks in the entire state. They just added a new party deck in left field and right field where I don't think I've seen that at a park. I covered one game. I was like, I'll just go out there for an inning and watch, see what that view's like. Ended up staying the whole game there. It was just so fun talking to Toby Hansen in left field.
Yep.
But, I mean, DC Saints, which they're going to host a tournament coming up next year with Delano and Litchfield. And then the Crow is great, Irish Yard and Green Isle. Young America's got that quirky park, too. It's just everyone tries to one-up each other.
Yeah.
When that region tournament comes around, it's all hands on deck to improve it, and then everyone just tries to one-up each other.
And what's neat, too, is it doesn't matter the size of the town. The parks are just immaculate. You mentioned Green Isle. That's one that I discovered just on a trip 25 years ago now, or whenever it was. Just cruising along the highway, and look at this gem of a ballpark in this small town. St. Patrick is like that, and there are so many of them like that you may not even know the town you're driving through, and yet they've got a beautiful baseball field.
And that's the stuff right there. It's like Avon. Why does Avon have a sweet park? Why does St. Martin have just cool little towns with awesome parks? And it's all about commitment. Those don't just happen. You have to work at it, keep it up, and those teams do take a lot of pride in those gems.
And they put up some great players as well. Let's talk about draftees. That's a part of this tournament that I think a lot of people that don't follow it closely, they have no idea. They may see a picture in the newspaper, and it's the winning team, and then there's 3 or 4 other guys with different uniforms on. Talk a little bit about the draftees, just in general, and also who we should be looking for.
Yeah, it's always an interesting part of the tournament. You look at Sobieski last year, didn't have a guy on their own team pitch 1 inning. So some teams rely on them heavily, some don't, and then you see those regions that are just stacked with good teams that don't make it to state, and you usually see those teams just add on to their pitching staff. Like Delano gets Avery Listman from Litchfield. Usually the Crow this year was a little bit down for them, but usually there's a stud pitcher or a stud closer they can bring in and just kind of gives you that extra arm around Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
Just the opportunity for a team to load up. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, you went from here to here because you got 2 guys that dice. And it's like, oh, how did these guys not make it to the state tournament? And they're pitching for someone else. And that's what makes it cool. And there's a lot of people who don't like it, but I think it's nice. I think it's an opportunity for other towns to get involved and for teams to really flex.
When we were sitting outside the cafeteria earlier, you guys asked, do we get to make predictions on the show? It's time for some predictions. All right, let's start with Class B, and you guys can just go back and forth a little bit. Let's go with the top half of the bracket to start because we only have so much room on our screen. What do you guys think? Who's coming out? Who's going to be playing at the end?
I'll go Meesville up top. I mean, it's tough to argue. They're good. I know the Springers are hungry. They're watching right now, and they got a good squad, but those 2 up top, maybe toss in a Dundas in there. That's where I'd go.
Yeah, those 2 are kind of your top 2 teams, but I'm looking kind of at Blaine, too, back for the first time in a couple of years. Always seem to play well at the right time. Some good talent there, too.
Bottom half of the bracket, then?
Chan. Until someone beats them, Chan Hassan's stacked. Just really good team. Missing a couple guys, but replacing them with good guys, too.
Yeah, but then whoever comes out of Champlin and Chaska, keep an eye on them. They could maybe spring an upset that maybe people weren't thinking they could.
All right, let's take a look at Class C. This one will take a little more time with, a lot more teams to deal with here. But starting in our first quad, what do you guys think? Who's coming out of there?
It's going to be interesting. That Loretto-Waterville game, whoever comes out of that could have a good run. I really biased, again, being a Region 7 guy, but Watertown Red Devils are just, I think a lot of people, and I was one of them, that thought losing that state title game, there's going to be a little bit of hangover this year. That hasn't been the case at all. They've gotten even better and covered a lot of games, and each game they won, they're happy they won, but they're like, there's bigger things we want to accomplish yet. And even when they won the Region 7C title this morning, they were just, that's step 2. We got a long ways to go, and they're a confident bunch, and they're a group that's matured over the years, and will be another tough out with how good their pitching is.
I'd say, Watertown, they were the runners-up. They can swing it. They're really good. There's a guy next door that thinks the Bird Island Bull Frogs are going to have a pretty good good day. They got Kingery as well.
Yep.
I mean, not a bit. We talk about drafting. They got
right.
pretty good draft pick right there. So I'd say look out for Bird Island.
Quad 2, what do you think?
Bemidji, they're always that team no one really talks about, and all of a sudden they win a game, they win another game, and they kind of just sneak up on you, and just a solid squad that gets it done year in year.
I think that Waconia out of your neck of the woods is going to be a nice spot for them in that area. Buckman, always tough, kind of that grinder team. You're not going to run into any slouches, obviously.
Yeah, and Waconia is, as much as you can say, going under the radar with how good Watertown has been, but top to bottom experience, young talent, pitching. Could be another fun year for the Lakers.
The third quad then, St. Patrick, one of the teams there. I mentioned them again just because they're so close to home. We get to watch a lot of games at their park, and it's another one of those towns that the bar, the church, and the ballpark. That's pretty much it in town there. What do you guys think about quad 3?
I like Delano to get the monkey off their back. They're 0-4 in their last state tournament games. They got their stud pitcher now. They're top to bottom 1-9. I got a lot of confidence in Delano making up for the last couple of years.
Avon's been tough. Avon's got a little DNA in there. Delano, tough to overwrite them. Kip said it earlier. St. Patrick, St. Martin, Delano, Isanti, those four, someone's going to lose out of those games. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's stacked quad.
All right, finally the last quadrant then. What do you think?
Yeah. Kimball Hutch is, I don't cover them necessarily, but I might go watch that one just as a fan for once, because you got Ben Johnson for Kimball. Hutch can hit the crap out of the ball. They've hit 30 home runs as a team. It's going to be a lot of fun to see that one play out.
There's some good squads down there. Raymond's good. Jordan, obviously, always with kind of that nucleus. Nisswa's been stinging the ball. There's going to be some disappointed teams that run into a very, very good matchup. But Kimball Hutchinson, I think everybody's highlighting. So
very good, gentlemen. Thank you.
No, thank you.
You bet.
Kip Kovar, Kirby Hemish. We'll bring the other panelists back on here, their predictions as well, as we make our way toward Game 1 of the 2022 State Amateur Baseball Tournament. You can watch it on NSPN.TV.
PrepSpotlight.tv made history in 2020 by live streaming every game of the Town Ball State Tournament. History is happening again. PrepSpotlight.tv has been great, but it's becoming greater. Introducing NSPN.TV. The Neighborhood Sports Network launches this week with end-to-end coverage of a fantastic Minnesota sports tradition, Town Ball. See every game for a new fan-friendly monthly fee. Join for Town Ball State Tournament games, then stay for the high school and college seasons. NSPN.TV will provide subscribers with an abundant supply of local sports content, featuring live events called by local play-by-play professionals, comprehensive highlights, feature stories, weekly shows, documentaries, and video podcasts. Welcome to the neighborhood, NSPN.TV.
All season long, you've gathered with friends, neighbors, and family at ball yards all across Minnesota.
Still going, gone! A home run!
Diamonds that define hundreds of communities. Town Ball binds together our passion for baseball and our hometowns. And on September 10th, the cornerstone of Minnesota baseball, Target Field, will host a party for all those who play, watch, and support Town Ball. The Twins host the Guardians at 6:10 p.m. Prior to the game, the champions will be honored in a ceremony at Town Ball Tavern, and all Town Ballers will be invited down to the field for a special pregame ceremony. Wear your team colors and enjoy a special night at Target Field.
Field Scallon back, has it measured. That's it! Air Freight Unlimited.
PrepSpotlight.tv made history in 2020 by live streaming every game of the Town Ball State Tournament. History is happening again. PrepSpotlight.tv has been great, but it's becoming greater. Introducing NSPN.tv. The Neighborhood Sports Network launches this week with end-to-end coverage of a fantastic Minnesota sports tradition, Town Ball. See every game for a new fan-friendly monthly fee. Join for Town Ball state tournament games, then stay for the high school and college seasons. NSPN.tv will provide subscribers with an abundant supply of local sports content, featuring live events called by local play-by-play professionals, comprehensive highlights, feature stories, weekly shows, documentaries, and video podcasts. Welcome to the neighborhood, NSPN.tv.
As we continue to set the stage for the Class B and C tournaments, let's not lose sight of what's going on in Class A in St. Anthony. We'll take a look at some of the highlights leading into the weekend. We've got baseball 365. Sam Calusa hits a two-out walk-off game-winning single. Baseball 365 ends 2-1 in this one. Take a look at some of the other action. Air Freight, they'll tie the game on a two-run home run by Dan Scallon and then takes the lead on a sac fly by Jack Cook. In the video clip, the sac fly gets cut off they double up the runner at first, and there's a play at the plate for the third out of the inning, and that as the runner that was on second base tried to advance and score. Take a look at some more highlights here. St. Louis Park versus the Stockman's Irish. Joel Pierce hits a three-run home run. SLP wins 10-0 in 7 innings. And then St. Anthony and Minnetonka takes a 4-2 lead with Jim Schallenberger's hit a two-run single to tie the game. St. Anthony scores one run in the top of the 12th. They win the game 5-4 to advance. We welcome our panelists back again. Good to see you guys. Did you get another snack back there? Or?
I did. No, I'm still thrilled. Kirby told me I'm never buying a beer in Richmond again.
Yeah.
Nice things that I said. So I'm thrilled about that. I'm on my way to Brainerd after this, so I'm thinking of swinging through Richmond actually.
We talked about ballparks with the other guys. Let's start with you, Jeremy. Tell us a little bit about the parks in your area.
Well, I come from Region 7. You heard a little bit about it with Kip. You were at two of the parks last year. I think Hamburg is the most true town ballpark in the entire state of Minnesota. I think it's got one of the best surfaces. And then I think when you're talking about new modern stadiums, if you're not talking about Waconia, and you were there for that atmosphere last year in that state championship game between Watertown and Sobieski. I know Rick and I were sitting right next to each other.
Exactly.
We're just kind of like, holy cow, can you believe this? It was just so cool.
You get caught up just looking at the crowd.
Yeah. So I think that those are the two that stand out from the ones that Kip had touched on before. But like he said, that whole 212 corridor by us, it's kind of cool. There was a time about 4 or 5 years ago where I did a game in Brownton. And I came home, and I live in Cologne, and the lights were on in every little town on my way home. And I just thought, how cool is this, realizing you're living amongst it. So
Right. Aaron?
And I'm glad you bring up the ballparks, because some of the most unsung heroes in amateur baseball are the people that take care of those ballparks, because, another volunteer job. And Jeremy and Rick both know the guys that do this on fields. They're out there early morning before they go to work, making sure the grass is cut. They are the ones that are making these ballparks beautiful, like Hamburg, like the St. Patrick's of the world. They just got lights for the first time, and if you've never been to St. Patrick before, you sit on top of a hill. And then it slants down, and there's the field. Union Hill, one of the most famous ballparks in the state of Minnesota, where there's a silo out there in left field. You got the cornfield in the outfield. That's what makes town ball so special, is the unique placement of these fields. But again, it's the people that are out there that manicure these fields and make them look the way they do, sometimes putting in their own money to make these fields work. And we could probably each list off a dozen names of people that make their ballparks the way they are.
Yeah, Rick?
In my neck of the woods, central Minnesota, I just arrived here straight from Avon, which was the final weekend host. Brand new lights, Very, very similar to what Delano has. Those hooded LED lights that are just spectacular. I mean, you can look at a night game outside the confines and it's pitch dark. Everything is contained within the field. I mean, so there's no light bleed over, and it's just a jewel. Freeport has lights. We've got lights in piers at Helly Field. But I like to look at those are the ballparks that kind of draw in the region tournaments. They're the kind of the hosts all the time. But in my area, we got a ballpark like Opal. Red Bialka Field in Opal has made tremendous strides. St. Wendell is doing tremendous things in their park. Uppsala is doing tremendous upgrades, and they're all, that was touched on earlier, they're all improving. You know, they're trying to get better. What can we do? What can we add? You know, so just to make it, it's not just the so-called marquee ballparks. Everybody is bringing their level up.
Let's go to draftees then and talk about some of the guys whose teams didn't make it, but we really should be watching out for in this tournament.
Well, you know, for us, you know, Kip kind of touched on it too. In Region 7, you know, we had Mayor run into a little bit of problems, so they were ineligible for the postseason. Young America being bumped up to Class B. And then, you know, a number of guys that, whether it's family commitments or personal commitments, that their name's not in the draft. And it really, it just kind of weakened Region 7 because there've been a string of years where there were teams that got aces, you know, out of it. And, you know, I think back to Tony Clay in 2015 pitching the Plato Blue Jays to a state tournament. You know, Pat Cheetah, who's not even, he's probably third or fourth right now on Watertown's depth chart. You know, he was always the #1 pick out of Region 7 for years. He's just happy he gets to go with his own team now. But, you know, obviously I think, you know, the big one is picking up Kingery for, you know, Bird Island. That's obviously huge. I think that changes that team. I think it makes them, and again, I'm not kissing up to Mike. I know he's back there thinking I am. But I think with the arms that they already have, and then you add a guy such as him, I think now that makes them a legitimate deep Labor Day kind of team.
Yeah.
And, you know, for them, are the bats going to come? That's the other thing, because these first 2 games for them, they're always going to be facing an ace, just like every other team's going to be facing an ace. So we're kind of just throwing mud at a wall and hoping it sticks when we make these predictions, because we don't know what pitcher's going to throw up, what bad hop is going to happen, who's going to get the big 2-out single.
Yep.
Well, the reigning Fred Roof's MVP, Caleb Strock of the Randall Cubs, drafted by Sobieski. Breaking news here, Caleb is not going to be in the draft. Randall did not make the region, or they made the region, they didn't qualify for state. But Caleb is taken, he's left Winona State. He played some this summer up in the Northwoods in called for the Lakeshore Chinooks, just north of Milwaukee. But he got an offer. He's going to Iowa for the Hawkeyes in the Big Ten.
Okay.
And their coaches have told him that, nope, we want you here. He's got to drive down to Iowa starting on Friday. Team meetings start on Monday, and there was questions, can we use him on a pitch count? You know, and they shut that down. So he will not go back to Lakeshore, and he won't be in the draft. So that was kind of the #1, you know, when you got a state tournament MVP hanging out there as a draft pick, and then all of a sudden he's not going to be there. So that was kind of the big news out of our region. I'd like to know from you guys, have you heard of this? Region 8, they've got a father and son drafted.
Oh, really?
Mike Byer of the Foley Lumberjacks, drafted by Buckman. His son, Drew Byer, is drafted by Avon.
That's a cool story.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's happened before.
Yeah.
But when,
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yep, very cool.
That's cool.
You know, when it comes to draftees, and we were talking about this, having the chicken and the potatoes, about the stories of some of the guys that get drafted every year, and maybe they're not going to see the innings in the state tournament, but they're just good guys to have in the dugout. I look at in Region 3C, Faribault again not getting to play in their own tournament they're hosting. Joey Grody was the first round pick going to St. Patrick. He was a guy that helped St. Patrick get to the championship game in 2020. I don't talk with Joey after the game that he pitched to beat Jeremy's Young America Cardinals. Sorry about that.
I know.
But in that game, Jeremy was, or not Jeremy, but Joey was in tears after the game because it was the biggest moment that he had pitched in amateur sports. And what I love about Joey's story, again, Joey's part of a Grody Farms. I mean, he's working, he's up early, he's working hard, and he's playing town ball. And he's one of the great players in amateur baseball. I look at other draftees, Matt Perkinson from Vesley. You look at a Ben Morrison from Prior Lake. Guys that, even if their team gets really far, maybe won't see some innings, but they're good clubhouse guys. They have experience, and they're going to have fun with these guys, and they wanted to be drafted because they love town ball. They want to be a part. If it's not their team at state, they just want to be a part of a team.
You might get to extend your summer 2 or 3 more weeks.
Correct. Yep.
Aaron, you're right. Last year was Sobieski, not only Strock, but Chad Weiss of the Piers Lakers won one of those games that Caleb didn't, and Ethan Branham of Fort Ripley won the other one. And you would not find 2 happier guys to contribute to Sobieski than those 3 guys right there.
Absolutely.
They're rivals during the season. That goes away.
Prediction time.
Oh boy.
All right, let's start with Class B, top half of the bracket, and I'll just let you guys fight it out.
I like Meesville. I've kind of jumped on their train this year. I think that I've got a Meesville Blaine matchup. It's fun. I know I kind of teased Meesville Dundas, but I've got Meesville Blaine, and I've got Meesville advancing and heading off to the championship game on that top half.
I'll give you my final 4 and B, and I've got Meesville, Blaine, Moorhead, and Chanhassen. And then let the chips fall where they may.
Okay.
Obviously, Chan's the favorite, but those are my 4.
Yep.
Yeah, I like Jeremy's stance with the 2 host teams, even though he didn't pick Dundas. But I'll go Meesville and Dundas in that top half of the bracket. I'm sort of always biased towards my teams. I think Newmarket, even though I think they're the 4th seed out of that region, they're still pretty good. A Moorhead team that got beat in the first round last year. The Chaska Cubs, I think a Chaska-Chanhassen matchup in the finals in that South bracket would be great because that's a rival team. When it comes to overall, I don't know if we're at that point of picking yet, but I mean, Chanhassen's always going to be tough to pick against when it comes to Class B. If you're picking anybody else, it's an upset.
It's hard to pick against Chan. I've actually got Meesville winning it. I've got them beating Chan, but I'm really intrigued. That second round matchup, a rematch of the first round last year, potential. Rochester and Chan, where I think Chan beat them 2-1. I mean, Chan was that close, and if you talk to the Rochester guys, they're going to tell you they thought they should have won that. They should have won that game and knocked out, at the time, the 3-time defending state champs. So I think that sets up to be a really good second-round matchup. But, it's hard to pick against a team when you've won 4 in a row, but it's also not the same team. They've lost a few key elements from that Chanhassen team. So it's not the same look that we've seen the last 3 or 4 years. So I've got Meesville beating Chan. I think that they snapped that Chanhassen streak in Class B.
All right, Class C. We'll start with that first quadrant, leading off with Loretto. What do you guys think?
Well, I've got Loretto moving on and to face that Bird Island team that we've talked about. Some pretty big names with some major league experience ties between both of those with the Kingeries and the Koskis there. So I would say a Bird Island Loretto first round match would be really interesting. I've got Piers over Watkins in a tight one, and I've got them taking on Red Wing in the second round, and Piers moving on past the number 1 seed.
You got the Webster Sox going anywhere, Aaron?
Here's the thing. I am one of the most unbiased announcers when it comes to amateur baseball. I mean, I'm totally unbiased. Yes,
That's what we all say.
Yeah, I have Webster in Labor Day weekend just because of their arms, and especially if they go with their ace Twitey, and that's the way the setup is. And we know this in amateur baseball. If you have one really good number 1, you can get to Labor Day. You can get to the final 8 without using anybody else besides your number 1. Webster's got that number 1. I like the Webster-Watertown matchup in the round of 16 because you got Watertown, who's a perennial team, to win the whole thing against what could be the Cinderella story of the whole tournament, the Webster Sox. I like that. Red Wing is always a team that has bounced back from B to C, but Red Wing's got a lot of talent, and sometimes because they're maybe in a corner, and I'm not knocking that corner of the state where we know we're from, the hotbeds of baseball, they probably don't get as much respect as they should down there in southeastern Minnesota. To me, Red Wing's always a sleeper team, and I actually got them in the final 8.
I like your point about a potential Webster-Watertown matchup. That's what I've got, but it's almost like a little bit. Remember last year Watertown was the Cinderella.
Correct.
This year it's kind of Webster's the Cinderella. Nobody thinks that Watertown's the Cinderella anymore. They've been the number 1 ranked team in the rankings all season long. So I really like that matchup, and I have Red Wing defeating Bird Island to get into the Final 8. So setting up a big matchup, I do have Watertown beating Webster.
Let's look at the next 12 then, and Quadrant 2. Some great teams here as well. Who's going to advance out of it? Which of these 12 are going to be coming out?
Well, and I'm not just saying this. I do like Richmond. I think that there's a great matchup there potentially. I think they're going to take on Maple Lake.
I've got that too.
I've got those two. I really, really love the potential matchup that I've got on my sheet between Laverne and Waconia. We've seen Laverne play a couple of our Region 7 teams over the last 2 years, and they have just been great matchups. So I look for that one to be kind of exciting. I have Waconia and Maple Lake right now coming out of that quadrant. Those are the two that I like.
Aaron?
I got Waconia too as well. I do like the Bemidji Maple Lake matchup. I think that's a good one. The home of do they call it the shoe beer or the beer shoe?
The shoe beer.
The shoe beer. The shoe beer in Maple Lake.
And I guess we're doing those in the parking lot.
We are
We're
doing
done.
those in the parking lot.
Well, we better wrap it up.
But anyways,
Kirby volunteered to shoot.
I like that matchup the best, but I do have Waconia. And again, because they're a team that's always there, I don't know a lot about them, but I always like to pick teams that are farther away from the state sites. I got Bemidji against Waconia in the Final 8 because they're the Blue Oxes. Again, I'm a nickname guy as well. And again, Bemidji is kind of a mainstay at the state tournament.
Okay, Quadrant 3. What do you think, Rick?
Are we starting with the Gaylord? I said?
In that, well, just who do you think is going to come out of that one?
Ooh, boy. I've got a really interesting Maple Lake Richmond matchup. I think that's a mark. I've got everybody's kind of chalk so far. I'm sorry, Aaron. I got Monticello over Webster.
Okay.
I got Monticello Watertown going at it. I like Bird Island. I like Bird Island to get to the semis at least. I've got Buckman over Laverne. So, and I got Waconia. So yeah, I've got Bird Island, Piers. I got Piers over Red Wing. Monticello, Watertown, Richmond, Maple Lake, and Buckman, Waconia in those into the third round.
Sure.
We're similar there.
Yeah, how about looking at the third quadrant,
Okay.
Jeremy? Let's go with Jeremy. Of those 12, who do you think is
Well,
going to...
number one, I just want to, and again, I'm a Region 7 guy, so I know I pointed that out a bunch. I love the first Friday night matchup, Gaylord and Broughton. They're co-hosting the state tournament together in 2025, so that's just a cool story. And to kind of kick off the tournament, those are going to be two rabid fan bases.
Yep.
So I really like that matchup to start, but just, for people who maybe haven't looked real closely, just look at the four top seeds in this quadrant. I mean, when you're looking at Isanti, Delano, St. Margaret, and St. Patrick, or St. Martin, holy cow. I mean, that's just scary. I think all those matchups like it. I've got both Delano and St. Patrick right now coming up, but I could flip a quarter on any of those games too. I mean, Leeser's maybe the best guy going in the state right now from St. Martin. They're still, their stigma is still from last year. They only had one hit in the first two games. They got no hit and they won in the first round. So that's going to be the stigma. They're going to have to, obviously you got to score a few runs in the state tournament to get through.
Yep.
And the way that the system is set up right now, St. Patrick's going to be a B team next year unless something switches. There's been talks of maybe adding another class, but right now St. Patrick's going to be a B team. And for possibly their final year in C for at least a couple of years, the committee did not make it easy on St. Patrick. I look at their route. You got Sartell as a possible first-round matchup, a team that's always there. Then you got Fairmont, who they took on the championship game 2 years ago. And then you got Delano, a team that everyone's kind of fallen in love with. We heard Kip talk about them in the last segment. They're there as well. So Jeremy touched on it with this quad, the third quad. And nothing against the other ones, but this is the best quad. This is the best quad, and whoever comes out of this quad in the Final Four is going to be a favorite to win the state tournament.
Let's jump ahead to number 4 then. Our final one, get some predictions with the Raymond and those teams. Jeremy, what do you think in quad 4?
Again, we talked about Region 2. People kind of been sleeping on Region 2 a little bit. Well, maybe Region 2 has been sleeping on themselves. They haven't won a whole lot the last 7 or 8 years. So that's one of the things that they've got change. But I really like this New Ulm team. It's a team that can really rake. I like teams that can hit. I know there's a great matchup potentially there with Nisswa.
I've got Nisswa New Ulm, yeah. That's going to be a dandy.
That
could be a slugfest.
And, I think maybe the one that we haven't talked about, just potential. And again, I think there's a long ways for both of these teams to get here, because I've got Jordan playing Plato, and I've got Hutch playing Bluffton, but I've got Jordan and Hutch right now on kind of my preliminaries. I mean, a second, that Jordan Hutch, that's a rematch, was at the 2019 state tournament championship game, over in Delano. So I think that one has a lot of uniqueness about it too. I've actually got New Ulm and I've got Hutch out of this quadrant getting into the final 8.
The team that intrigues me out of this grouping that I think can make a run is Bluffton. With the Dykoffs, and they'll keep throwing Dykoff after Dykoff after Dykoff at you. And I've got them over Kimball in the second round, and then I got them beating Jordan too. So I think that's my pick to come maybe through that section.
Yep.
I have Brewers versus Brewers. I got New Ulm and Jordan in the final 8 there.
Okay.
I think New Ulm's a team that is going to make a lot of noise. Jordan, 2019 champions, a lot of veterans. I do have to mention from this quad, Montgomery. That's my hometown team, Quack Quack. They are a homegrown team, which means everybody on the team either went to, which is now TCU, the Tri-City United School District, or they went to Montgomery Lonsdale at one point. So everyone is homegrown. That's kind of their motto. So if you're looking for a Cinderella team besides Webster, you can jump on the Ducks bandwagon.
Very good. Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Brian.
Fun. Thank you.
It's a great time. To everybody watching, thanks. The tournament's coming up August 19th. We'll see it on nspn.tv. I'm going to look down on this so I can read it. Oh, no.
I told you I'm the most unbiased guy that's on this panel.
He's got the St. Pat's hat rolling here. Aaron Worm, Rick Graman, Jeremy Stender, also Kip Kovar and Kirby Hemish were here as well. Thank you guys for taking your time
Part of the enjoyment, Ryan, too, is running into these guys.
Yeah, that's right.
Wherever.
That's right.
It's a reunion.
For the record, I've got the same team. I've got St. Patrick winning it all.
Okay. Very good.
I got them beating Watertown.
All right. So thanks again to all these guys for joining us here in Howard Lake. Also, big thanks to the NBA Board of Directors and President Mark Forsman, who hosted this event tonight. Brought us our dinner. So it gets the media guys showing up, right? We look forward to more than 70 games of coverage, and a reminder to check it out on nspn.tv, and you'll see how easy it'll be to stream the games if you can't make it to Meesville, Dundas, or Faribault. You've been watching the Minnesota Amateur Baseball Preview Show on the YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Click it down on the bottom right of your screen. From all of us here, I'm Ryan Phelps saying so long, folks, and we'll see you next time.